How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Adrock, and I'm back with another Freelancer Breakdown, this time for Aurora. Aurora is a medium to long range support Freelancer, with the ability to drop some nice AoE on top of that. And if left unchecked, can keep a whole team going all by herself for the entire game. You know what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. But enough of that, let's get into her skins before we move on to her abilities and modifications. Her default skin Blaze has a ton of color unlocks, including Radon at level 1, Krypton at level 5, Xenon at level 8, Carbon at level 10, the typical Golden Age which you get from the Trust Pack from Atlas Reactor, the Argon from the Immortals Loot Matrix, and Omni, which you get from the Founders Pack once, Community level 3 is reached. I'm pretty sure this will be available once we hit live. You can also get her Voltaic skin, which includes Lithium at level 1, Alkaline at 5, Black Gold at 8, and Acid at level 10. As for her abilities, Aurora has Shock Therapy with no cooldown, and it's a Blast Phase move. It's a straight line projectile, fairly long range, that'll deal damage to enemies on top of healing to herself and allies with the right modifications. Speaking of modifications, you get Vayne, which by default heals yourself as well, Group Therapy increases ally healing, and Altruism, which will grant allies energy when hit. Aurora's second ability is Ion Cloud. It's a small 2x2 grid that'll damage enemies every turn they stand inside it. Modifications include Stable Ions, which increases the duration for another turn, Radiant Mists, which will reveal enemies for 2 turns, Default Overcast, which reduces the cooldown by 1 turn, and Invigorating Cloud, which heals allies in the cloud for every turn the cloud is active. Aurora's third ability is Healing Flare, a prep phase 3-turn cooldown ability, which will restore 30 health to an ally or yourself, and any enemy next to you are knocked back during the blast phase, and you get 10 energy upon successful activation. Mods include Polarity, which increases the knockback range to 3, Default Seeking Flare, which can target through walls, Flare Burst, enemies that are hit will take damage, and Surging Flare, restoring an additional 10 health to the target if they're under half health. Aurora's fourth ability is Paralyzer, a prep turn 5 cooldown ability which will send out a huge wide 2 to 3 block width of energy, making enemies weak and granting shields to allies for the turn. It can also shoot through walls. You also gain energy per enemy and ally hit. Mods include Gravity Well, the default, which slows enemies, Surge of Might, which buffs allies with Might, Laser Designator, which reveals enemies, and Rapid Paralysis. The ability's cooldown is reduced by 1 for each target hit, up to max 3 turns. Aurora's ultimate is Heart of the Storm, a blast phase no cooldown ability that'll shoot a beam of light in a cross section, damaging enemies and healing allies. It will shoot through walls and ignores cover. Mods include Supernova, which increases the number of beams to 8 and decreases their potency though, Focus Radiance, the default, which hits only one target, friendly or enemy, increasing the potency, and Sudden Jolt. When you use it, it reduces all active cooldowns by 1. So at this point, we talk about my own personal feelings about the character, how she kind of plays, and the short time I played with her, as well as what to expect when you do play her. So here's the thing. She's kind of like a turret. She doesn't move a whole lot, does not have any dashes, and she relies on other players a lot more than, say, Helio or Quark, who are also support healer types but have some kind of movement ability. So because of this, you're going to have to really rely on your catalysts, as well as sticking to other players to increase your chances of survival. But make sure you communicate with your team, because you cannot keep up with half of that roster. They move just so fast. And if they decide to go chasing someone like, say, Asana, who makes their life a living hell, they're just really slippery, your life becomes a living hell because now you'll just be easy pickings for whoever just wants to cross their path. Also, Quarters and Walls are a bitch for half of her abilities. You really can't see that well, Healing Flare is easily blocked by them, so keep that in mind. You always want to have some kind of line of sight on everybody at all times. On the bright side, Shock Therapy, Ion Cloud, and Healing Flare are so damn long range that you don't need to move as much, so you can kind of just set yourself up and just throw out heals and disables as much as you need to. Everyone will come to you because you are the healer. It's kind of this weird unspoken rule that DPS are going to come gunning for you, and your team, if they're good, or if they're, sorry, I take that back. If they communicate well and if they're aware, will come to your aid as fast as they can, because Aurora's healing is not to be underestimated. Here's the downside though. Even though you have long range, you need to be really mindful of the battlefield movement, or you'll end up surrounded, and you really don't want that. Paralyzer is a really odd skill for her as well, because it's not a straight up heal or it's not an AoE ability. It's a debuff and a shield generator, which is very odd for a character who has 3 different healing abilities if you count her ultimate. Also, the cooldowns on her Ion Cloud, Shock Therapy, and Paralyzer are wicked long if you don't have brain juice or even the foresight to know when to use them. When you do start getting close to 100% energy, you want to start moving towards the center of the action, and that's to take the full advantage of Heart of the Storm. if you don't have the 8 beam mod, those 4 beams need to be able to hit as much coverage as possible, so you want to make sure that you're close enough to the action where you can spread out the damage and healing effectively. Personally, if you're going to run some catalysts, I like to use Turtle Tech for that extra shield just in case you really do put yourself in a bad spot. The basic shift, which will give you a nice medium range blink to get out of the action. And Brain Juice, which will decrease your cooldowns by 2 turns, I believe, and will cover any holes in your game, as well as reduce the cooldowns for Healing Flare as soon as possible. I'm sorry, Ion Cloud, Shock Therapy, and that kind of stuff. Aesthetically, she and the other Omnitrust characters, which are currently Aurora, Asana, Helio, and Elle, are really mixed bag aesthetically speaking. Here's where I'm going to get really kind of nitpicky and personal feeling, but Aurora feels the most out of place in Atlas Reactor's cast. Whether it's the lack of lore initially for Omni or the design elements that are just a personal opinion, she feels bland. Her silhouette doesn't stick out as well as other characters do in the game in the heat of battle. If there are 2 Auroras in a battle, I honestly forget which one is me half the time. Or if I'm not Aurora, which one's my Aurora. The silhouette and the positioning for her just makes it really, really odd. And overall, she's just meh. Her Voltaic skin is nice and really makes her stand out a tiny bit more. But there's something about the wavy hair that's supposed to be her big, signal, this is me, it just doesn't work when you compare the Sacred Militions Inc. or Zuki, Lockwood, Garrison, anybody else that's humanoid-esque. That's just a me thing. That might change when you get closer into live or as she gets more skins, but she's just meh looking with great potential if you have a lot of communication and force it on your team. And this wraps up this edition of Freelancer Breakdown with Aurora. If you have any comments or suggestions, leave them below. I always love to improve the series for you guys. And as always, I'll catch you later. Bye.